Have a really good think, because somebody you know could earn you a lot of money for very little effort. Think, who do you know that wants to buy a property in Spain? A colleague, a mate, someone in your family, a friend of a friend? If you know someone, go to welcome-estates.com and click the Refer a Friend link. If they buy, you'll pocket a nice chunky thank you from one of Spain's leading estate agents. T's and C's apply. All details at welcome-estates.com.
Hello, all you hardcores out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from Poker's Corner, biggest gob in sport. Just waiting for Julian to click the link. Hey up, Julian. All right, mate.
How are you doing, Russell?
Yeah, there's not I can do until it says okay on my side, you see.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right, mate.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I've turned the camera on. Can you? But I've not appeared on your
I can
screen.
see you. I can see you, mate. I can see you. You got a t-shirt on, haven't you?
That's the one, mate.
You've got your it looks like you're sat in a cafe with thing behind you.
Yeah, that's sat in the kitchen table, mate.
How's Kelsey doing?
Kelsey's all right. He's on his second double shift on the trot. Long shifts, those 14-hour shifts, mate. So, in the care kind of profession, that's what they do. They do back-to-back double shifts, then a single, then they have a few days off. So pretty unsociable hours, but he never complains, mate. Doesn't bother him one bit.
Yeah, Reggie's just been swimming. I says to him, "Were you a fish or a break?" He went, "What? I'm a boy." I just walked off and gave me a funny look. So much for banter.
Took it literal. Have you started recording yet, Russell?
Yeah, it's recording, pal. Yeah, are you all right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right. We've always got dogs gating here. I just said to Daisy, take the dog up the stairs with you. She's not. Never mind, mate. If he barks, I'll have to.
No probs. Oh, George, have you still got him?
Yeah, George is here, mate. I think he's about 11 or 12. So he's like dogs do. They get a bit of arthritis, just like myself. So we're both creaking about the house, mate, these days, but he's all right.
Yeah, mine's creaking about, whereas I've got that other one that's running riot.
Yeah, little puppy.
Right, I've had Max on this afternoon.
Okay.
He's not training at Nick's tonight, though, me, you know.
Yeah, he said he's got COVID.
Well, he didn't have COVID at lunchtime, and what we hear 7 o'clock now, he's got COVID. It's amazing how COVID pops up when there's a session to do, isn't it? Max, you're not doing yourself any favours. I'm not like Julian and Nick Manners. I don't believe any of your horse shit, Max, about COVID. So there you go. So
well, I'll tell you where I am.
It won't be me that we're dealing with. It'll be Dennis, won't it? And if he thinks Dennis is a soft touch, he's off his rocker. Dennis
isn't a soft touch, mate. I'll tell you where I am with boxers, and love Max to bits. It's irrelevant, the fact that I've got a lot of time for Max and I like him as a human being. You know where I've been with boxers, whereas it's cost me my own personal happiness and all that kind of stuff.
Cost you your marriage, didn't it?
It cost me a lot of things, mate. So what I don't do now is run around after boxers and worry about boxers. So if a boxer can't train for whatever reason, I mean, I used to have one fighter who always had something to do after a couple of hard sessions back to back. He could never do the third or fourth session. And it'd be amazed how many people have parents' evening, anniversaries. I've got to do this. I've got to go to the dentist. They all seem to have things that happen miraculously at the time of training. So all boxers know who train with me anyway. We train 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock. Those are the hours we did. And so if you were a professional fighter, you would avoid those times, wouldn't you? If you've got personal stuff to do, you avoid 6 till 8 because I have to train. That's what I've got to do. I have heard every single excuse from every single boxer in the book. But what happens, Russell, is you get to the stage, you just smile because it's like it doesn't. I'm not suggesting you make an excuse, Max. But it just doesn't bother me anymore. It used to bother me. And this is a line that I've always used to fighters over years. And I was talking to Nick Manners about this a while ago. And Nick says, Jules, I'm going to nick this one from you. I'm going to steal it from you. And I always said to fighters, right, certainly after I've been there and done it with Sykes and some other good kids, trained multiple national champions at amateur and professional level, worked with some good kids, future world champions, British champions, you name it, I've been there, I've done it. I don't often shout about it, but I've done it and it speaks for itself. So what I always say to fighters is, there's nothing you can do what's going to change my life. If you think you're going to get me rich or make me famous, you're dreaming, okay? I earn my own living, I've got a good job, good wage. Boxing doesn't bring me anything whatsoever. So if you don't want to train, I ain't right bothered. Whereas I used to feel it, Russell. But now I'm at a stage now, I'm like, it doesn't bother me. But the only rule I've got, and I'll say this to Max, and I'll say this publicly because you've got a big audience, and Max might think we're bashing him, right? If Max isn't 19 stone and in shape, I ain't going near him on fight night, and it's as simple as that. And I might feel a bit mean-spirited doing this on a Zoom, on a social media platform, but this is the way of the world now. People live their lives on social media, other than YouTube and on social media. People live their lives on social media, so I'm going to express my views on social media. Max is 19 stone and in great shape. On fight night, I'll be there. If Max is not there, I'm going to not, waste my energy and risk my reputation as someone who, like I've said, I never tell you about what I've done, but I'm saying it now for a reason. I've worked with over 15 national champions in the amateurs and pros. I've gone under the radar to do it quietly. Only 4 or 5 years ago, I worked with 3 national amateur champions. I've worked at every level, mate.
Amateur coaches like you don't interview it, put the time in. Steve,
tons, mate. There's tons, right? So if people want to train, brilliant. If people don't want to train, it's fine. If people are ill, that's absolutely fine. But don't turn up a week before and say, I want to fight, but I'm not as fit as I could be because I've been ill. I've had this, I've had that, I've hurt my ankle, I've hurt my rib, I've hurt my hand. You're either in shape.
I've hurt my prick. I've hurt my prick. Have you heard that one yet?
I've heard everything, mate. I've heard everything. Every single thing there is to hear. I've trained some seriously good kids.
Okay, Clinton, he went flying up to Liam Cameron wrong. He goes, I can't train. I've dropped a bottle on my toe or something, or a tin of beans or something.
I've heard it all, mate.
You know what? Clinton jumped in his no BM, wheel spun all the way up there to Darnell or Little Dale. He's gone in, walked into the house, show me that tin of beans.
So Sykes will tell you, I've done it with Sykes, I've done it with Tony Aitchison, I've done it with McInerney. When they've said, oh, I'm not well, or this has happened, I said, all right, okay. And then I've just drove up to where they lived and knocked on the door. And they say, oh, you look all right to me, or I've just been up to you. Where are you? Oh, I'm in bed. Well, I've just been at your house and there's no one in.
Yeah,
I've done that, mate. And it's like, listen, this is what I said to Nick. You can't impact my life, not to Nick, it's the boxers. You can't change my life at all. You can't impact my life whatsoever. You don't pay my mortgage. You don't pay my kids' fees. So because you don't do all those things, it's a relationship where you need me. I don't need you. And what that does is it took me a long, long time, Russell, for the penny to drop and to say, you know what? Chasing after boxers, moving them in with you for 8 weeks to stop them from drinking and to stop them from putting a stone on, moving in with the family for 8 weeks, reshuffling all the bedrooms. Those days are gone. You're in shape, you take it seriously, or you're not. And I won't be anywhere to be seen. I will not ever compromise myself ever again, mate, with boxers. Never.
Yeah. Well, I hope if he's got COVID, he's all right. But I
hope he's okay.
But I don't listen to knackers, and I don't buy that. Not in 6 hours. I ain't having it. You were all ready for training, so Max, I ain't buying any bullshit.
I don't know anybody who's testing for COVID right now, but maybe I live in a bubble. I don't know.
Well, I thought COVID was classed as flu now, isn't it?
Well, COVID now, in terms of transport, international transport, holiday destinations, and according to the NHS website now, COVID's no longer categorised as an emergency. There's no special restrictions. So to frame it exactly what you've just said, it's just classed as a flu.
Well, I'm disappointed, Max, but I'm not giving you benefit of the doubt. You're a prick. So that's where we're at. He knows
Well,
what I'm like. I don't suffer fools, mate. I won't be fucked about like this. Sorry for swearing.
well, the thing is, mate, Max is a great kid. We've said that, but
Yeah,
he's going to think we've gone hard on him tonight. But
no.
listen, this is boxing. This is not playing around, okay? But ultimately, right, you've stuck your neck out. You introduced Max to me. You've stood by him, and he is losing weight. He has been dropping some weight, but it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not quick enough.
It might be better to push that date back for Dennis and to say, right, let's regroup. Max, you're not going to get out for June 17th. I could see you were panicking last week when he were here. You were flapping.
Okay.
Because I think, I think Dennis has talked to him and he's likeable, isn't he? But Dennis will rather him say, look, you know what, then? I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Or put date back. But you can't keep Dennis. That'll be the second time. This will be the third time, won't it, now?
Yeah,
and
listen,
he's getting further away. He's actually pushing 36 now.
What I never do is make excuses for boxers. So Steve would ring me and he'd just say, I've got this fight for so-and-so, 4 weeks' time. And I'd just say, I've not seen him in a few months. Steve, last seen he was on the piss. I've not seen him. I won't make excuses for boxers. What's the point? Life's too short. I didn't get paid for this stuff. People that get paid for it, it costs you a lot more than you make from it. So I don't make excuses for boxers. I used to cover up for fighters and defend fighters all the time. But they make you look bad and they make you look like a liar. So you're in shape and you're ready to go, or you're not. But my time is immensely precious. And any time I spend with a boxer, which is not a lot these days, that's time I could be spending with my kids, with my own kids, instead of with somebody else's kid. So this isn't a dig at Max, and this isn't a dig at anyone in particular. This is telling you, Russell, why I no longer really coach, as you know that. Matt, yeah. It's just not worth it, mate. It's not worth it. I've been fortunate in I've worked with kids like the last pro I worked with, who's no longer boxing. He was a England international, 3 times amateur champion, national champion, a good kid. I worked with kids who like McInerney, Aitchison, they're national champions. Sykes, national champions. These are national champions. So if I can kick them out of the gym and tell them to F off and tell them to go find another coach, I can certainly do it with all the fighters. So that's how I roll now. It all sounds a bit harsh, but what did they say? That were old too soon and wise too late. And Max might hear this and think, whoa, that's a bit cruel. I'm not aiming this at Max. I'm just aiming this. It's a generic thing. If Max is ill, I hope Max feels better soon and I hope he recovers. But I'm a bit like you. You have to just not believe what boxers tell you, don't you? And
listen, after my first year at Ron's, I said, I don't believe no I'm told of any years, including you, Ron. And no offense to Ron, but Ron used to say, well, no, we're doing this, show you emails, and that's all very well brilliant. But after them, and in a link with people that are just chatting utter shit, and the shit changes by the day. Your head's spinning here, being messed about.
Everybody wants to be a fighter.
Go on, what?
Everybody wants to be a fighter until 5 a.m. when that alarm clock goes off and it's raining outside. Your partner's cuddled up to you. The dog's laid at the bottom of the bed warming your feet. And you think, oh, I could just do with another couple of hours. And everybody wants to be a fighter until that moment. Everybody wants to be a fighter until they're doing 8 rounds, 10 rounds sparring. And after 3 rounds, they've hurt the hand and they've got a bit of a bust nose, and then it tests the metal. It tests everybody's metal. And that's why it's only, 0.1% of fighters like the guy I'm looking at right now on your thumbnail who make it, because everybody wants to be a fighter. Because imagine, right, you're an elite fighter. You walk into a ring, Nottingham Arena, like the Sheriff of Nottingham. You walk into that ring and all those people are going crazy for you. Now, that must be a massive ego trip, but it's good that we're talking about dedication about boxers, because do you know what? When gyms are always full when there's been a big fight, because people have done a bit of boxing, they want the fame of being a boxer, They watch the Froch nights, they watch the AJ nights, the Fury nights, and then what they do then is on the Monday they say, right, this is it now. I want that to be me. And then by the Tuesday, body's aching a little bit. By the Wednesday, they're crying off. And you know, the man I'm keep referring to Cal Froch, but the man I'm looking at now was not the most talented fighter in the world. Yeah, he was clearly talented. He had an aptitude for boxing, but it was not the most talented fighter in the world. I've worked with kids. Told you before, I worked with two fighters in particular. Tony Hickson Jr., 16-0 as an amateur, national champion, 4-0 as a pro. Tyrone McInerney, not development champion, national champion, brilliant kid. Never truly got beat as a pro. He'll be watching this now with Tyrone. He won't mind me mentioning him out. Both of those kids were massively talented kids. Probably a little bit more talented than Sykes. But it's not enough. It's not enough. And that's why I'm looking at Carl now, because he'll tell you that, you know, what do they say that, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I know these are cliches, but it's so true. You got to be in the gym all the time. And you know what I would do if I didn't feel well, if I felt a bit run down? I'd go for a little run, try or do a bit of shadow boxing.
Well, what I want to say is Max did a 3-mile run this morning, right? So then he's come on my channel, and now 6 hours later he's got COVID. So that to me is bullshit. Now people can look at it how they want, and I'll tell him, and he will know. And when Dennis hears this, he'll go, phew, okay, get your same rate. But I know that Dennis will feel, nah, I ain't having that. Not with Max's track record. He's seen you 3 times in 10 months, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He had 10 months to get that weight off. You mind going and applying for another fucking license? Do you know what I mean? He's just fucking everybody about.
I can understand you're annoyed, and that's what I don't get annoyed anymore. I don't even say that people are not being honest with me, but I don't believe they're telling the truth either. You know, if that makes sense, I know we're kind of expressing what we feel now on your channel. And I think that's a good thing, by the way, because like I've said, people live their lives on social media, and I think it's, you know, we're talking about all aspects of boxing, aren't we? So, you know, one week we'll talk about misfits, one week we'll talk about Fury. What we're now talking about is that motivation and dedication to be a fighter.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I was an amateur boxer, right? People saw me, thought I was better than I thought I was, but I'm dead honest about that. I was all right. It was as simple as that. I wasn't great. I was all right. I could crack, I could box, I could switch. I didn't have a great chin. Hard thing to admit, but I'm brutally honest with myself as well as everybody else. And I didn't go pro, Russell, and I didn't go pro, pal, because I wasn't good enough. And I knew I would come up against kids who were hungrier and more dedicated than me. And those skills would have only taken me a round or two. It's not enough. You got to tick every single box in boxing. You got to tick every box.
You're out there on your own, aren't you? You can't.
Yeah, you're on your own, mate. It's. I saw, and I've told this story before, but for those who haven't heard this story, when Gary Sykes won the British title against Andy Morris, it was a shortlisted as Fight of the Year by Boxing Board Control. There was over 2,300 punches thrown by Sykes and Morris. It was savage, right? When Sykes got out of the ring, never said anything to me in between rounds about his feet. And this is just what happened to Tyson Fury and Klitschko. Sykes got out of the ring. His adrenaline dropped. And he sat down and he said to me about 15 minutes after he'd won the belt, we were all buzzing. He says, Jules, can you help me take my boots off and my socks off? And he was wincing. And I swear, Russell, on my kids, I've never seen feet like it. You know, when you want to be sick. If you thought Tyson Fury's were bad when the soles of his feet were hanging off, Sykes started taking his socks off. And it was just raw. The bottom of his feet were just raw. His skin had literally been 2, 3, 4 millimeters of skin had been taken off, most of his under his feet. And I was wincing.
An hospital job.
Oh, it was horrendous. Yeah, he had to have it looked at and got and wrapped and all kinds of stuff.
Wheelchair job.
But you and me couldn't have done that, mate. Right? You can have a rumble. I can have a rumble. You couldn't have done what Sykes did. Carl Froch could have done it. Fury did it. But there are fighters out there who couldn't have done that. And he never complained and he never moaned. And he just, that belt meant more to him, and to go through that pain and to go through that discomfort, that's what fighters do, and that's why you get some fighters who pull out with a hand injury, and then you get other fighters who never pull out, mate, no matter what. The corner has to pull them out.
Gatsy didn't pull out against Ward with Brock Nan, did he?
This is what separates these guys, mate, from the also ran, from the pretenders and the people. There's those who talk about boxing, and there's those who just get on with it. And Josh Warrington, you know, he was in the gym where I was at Central for like 2-3 years. Warrington was the same. You never heard Josh make excuses, mate. He never made excuses. He just trained. If he had a bit of a niggle, he'd train through it. If he wasn't at his best, he'd do something. Yeah, clearly, if you have a bad flu, you don't train. I get that. You don't bring a bad flu into the gym. But the fighters who are hungry and the fighters who want to win titles, they're just prepared to go through more than what average people go through. I got in a ring. I had hard fights, amateur fights, but it's a professional boxing's a different level. You get it harder, quicker, over 3-minute rounds, over 12 rounds. It's savage, mate. And if you've got any kind of delicate psyche or any kind of delicate disposition or just that much about your pedigree that says, you know what, I ain't got the stomach for this, get out of boxing. Because if you haven't got the stomach for training, you're not going to have the stomach for when it gets hard in the ring. Because if you can't deal with it in the gym, you've got no chance in the ring when it gets hard, mate. None at all. It's nothing to do with just having courage and balls. It's mental fortitude, mental focus. I mean, that I'm not talking about Cal Froch because he's a hero of yours. I've got way more fighters than Froch who I prefer. But the right hand that George Groves knocked him down with, it looked like he'd been shot, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was a savage punch, and George Groves could throw.
He said everything were like quiet for rounds.
You could just imagine. He looked like his eyes were glazed for three rounds. He had glassy eyes for 3 rounds, and he got up, mate. He got up. And that's what makes fighters. That's what makes world champions and British champions and even Central Area champions is having the guts. And I know I'm like a stuck record, but if you can't deal with a few niggles in the gym, boxing's the wrong sport for you. That's not aimed at Max. That's not digging out anybody, right? That's just a fact. That's just what it is.
This is what I think he's done. I think he's trained hard for a few days.
He has been training hard, yeah.
I don't think he's ran today. I think he's told the Porky because I put it on him. I've gone, he done 6 mile. He was like stuttering like Scooby-Doo and he's gone a 3. Well, 3 ain't enough. He should have walked the other 3. He's done 3. Or done 6 mile. Do 100 meters, walk 100 meters, do 100 meters, walk 100 meters, and build it up like that. That's how you get that 6 mile done. You look at your stopwatch, yeah, it's a long time, and you go again next day and you beat that time. When you're going around certain corners on your walk or your trot or your run or slow jog, whatever you're doing, you'll be looking at your watch thinking, right, I'm quicker than I were yesterday at this point. Now he ain't done that. And he's given me a load of hogwash, and that don't wash with me. Don't wash with me. You know what I mean? I feel embarrassed. So,
well, it's a conversation, is it? Because Max, I help him, I advise him. We get on, and he might be listening to this going.
He is listening to it. He's a weapon.
That's harsh, but ultimately, right? It comes from a good place, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, it does. I like him.
It comes from a good place.
His kids like him. His dogs like him. He's likable. He's not a boxer. He wants to do it. He's probably best off in Misfits. He
could probably earn some good money in that, and have some good nights. And there seem to be, big events. I don't watch them, but there seem to be big events because I always know, because whenever I jump on YouTube the night or whatever after a Misfits show, YouTube just full of them. And I think you sent me a video of 2 big 400-pound guys. The views are massive. I was shocked by the views that these shows get. Absolutely huge.
I know. It's not good, is it?
Can't get my head around it.
Did you watch that? Did you see them guys going?
No, I just saw you might have sent me about 10-second clip. And I mean, it's not boxing. It's just 2 big, sperm whales with gloves on their hands just wailing at each other. It's not boxing. They're not boxers. I don't know what sport it is, if I'm being honest. And that's not being rude. It's just it's voyeurism, isn't it? It's car crash television, but people like this stuff. You know, people used to go see Siamese twins and the Elephant Man back in, back in the Victorian times. People will stop when they see mutilated bodies at the side of a road when there's been a smash, and they'll film it now and they'll post it on YouTube. This is voyeurism, and you know what? If these guys who put these shows on, if they enjoy it and everybody who gets involved enjoys it, previously I'd rip these shows to bits, but a bit like I've just been said about coaching, I've started to pick and choose what I care about, and I don't watch it. I don't know who these people are. I know KSI is because my daughter went to see him, so I'm aware of him. I'm not going to turn around and say I've never heard of KSI, because I have. And I would suggest that KSI, from what I've heard, is certainly 20,000 levels above those big fat blokes you've been talking about. But it is what it is. Let people do what they want. But when there is a ring death, and there will be a ring death, when someone has a heart attack live on DAZN, don't cry about it, and do not turn around to me, Callie Sarland, and say they were fit to box, they passed medicals, because any fool can see that those two guys, for example, they're a heart attack waiting to happen.
Well, they were all there and they've all played the part in it, and it's a free-for-all now, and the horse has bolted, and it's embarrassing. And you know what? I have people now coming up to me and texting me saying, don't be going on about boxing in my company again, Porky. It's a load of crap. It's a load of shit what I've just seen on DAZN. I'm paying 13 quid a month for that shit. They're complaining to me. I ain't even got DAZN.
You haven't even got it, have you? But everybody's making money, Russell. Absolutely. From the coaches to the agents, to the managers, to the timekeeper, to the referees, probably get more than the board of control referees. Everybody's making money. And, you know, people will do anything for money. I mean, we know that, don't we? Yeah. People will do anything for money. Anything. What they'll sell the soul, they'll sell the mother, they'll sell the kids for money. That's just a sad part of human nature.
Speaking of brassers, did you see John Fury brassing himself up at the side of the ring? His lad got twatted on back at head, and he was there being peacemaker. Old road man killer there, 100 on hard road. MFI are watching me from moon. I can't be throwing any punches. I'll get arrested. Pop, pop, bang.
Well, hey? that leads me to believe one of two things. One, it's completely staged, and you know they're just wrestling, they're just messing about.
Yeah.
Or two, he didn't want to get involved.
He got twatted, and his father's lost his arsehole.
Well, listen, I could lose my job if I got in trouble. My son's getting jumped. I don't care. I'm getting in there, mate.
Yeah, so it was staged or it's bottleless. Either way, it's well.
But either way, it's embarrassing for an ex-professional fighter to be involved in that, isn't it?
Yeah, a stage job or a bottle job. Which one was it? What do the fans think? The boxing.
What I will say, and you and I talked about this after the Fury. Who was the guy he beat? Not Logan Paul, the other one. We said it after Jake Paul. We said it then. I remember we did a video whenever that fight was, and I thought Fury had beat him easy. And I said, it's probably a better road for him to go down, isn't it? I get it. So Tommy Fury is a really nice kid. He's got a family, he's got a young family, and he's clearly not going to become a world champion, is he? It's not going to happen.
He ain't got a central area in him.
It's just not there. The skill set, the speed, the ring craft, it's not there. And I think what he's done, Tommy Fury's done, is really clever. John's really clever. Is they found the level. They know that's something that they can make a ton of money doing. Why wouldn't you do that? Boxing's a hard, brutal sport. Why would Tommy Fury have gone down any other route and had central area title fights for $5,000 when he can do this for millions? I don't blame Tommy Fury doing what he's doing. I mean, he's still 5 levels above these guys, isn't he? But the difference from the Jake Paul to the Dan Azizas, you can't measure it, can you?
Dan Azizas, he couldn't beat anybody for the central area, mate. Get wiped out.
No, he just
roped off.
It's not going to happen. So what he's doing is the right thing for him. But I guess what frustrates you and I and the general public is when they talk about world titles and they talk about this. But to be fair to Tommy Fury, he's not going to turn around and say, I'm going to do this because it's easier. I'm going to do this because I can make more money. And deep down, I don't think I'm anywhere near that kind of level of professional boxer. He's not going to say that, is he? Because that's not a smart thing to say. So I get why he's doing it, but there's absolutely not a world title in Tommy Fury.
Glenn Rhodes has got a teenager called Tegan Scott, right? And he will blow Tommy in his amateur, right? Teenager. He will blow Tommy Fury away inside 3 rounds. He will blow him away, mate.
Yeah, and that's
blow him
no
away, mate.
That's
Inside
no disrespect to Tommy
Tegan
Fury.
Scott, Glenn Rhodes guy. He would smash him to pieces. And he's amateur.
Well, Jake Paul, and I got ripped to bits for saying this by the Jake Paulites. I said, Tommy Fury will beat Jake Paul. Easy. Jake Paul can't fight. He can't box. He can't fight. He's terrible. Right. And I got hammered for that, for saying what's true. He's absolutely terrible. He's terrible. His feet are awful. Everything about him is terrible. He's just quite brave and he's quite strong and quite tough. But that doesn't make you a boxer, does it? Now, you know, if Jake Paul had boxed, let's just say Jake Paul was fighting a kid who just turned over, a GB kid. In fact, let's say Ben Whittaker. Ben Whittaker's only a light heavyweight. Okay, we know that Jake Paul's a cruiserweight. What would Ben Whittaker do to Jake Paul?
Ben Whittaker would roast him inside 60 seconds. It'd be over in 60 seconds.
It'd be a joke. It'd be a joke. It'd be like Marvin Hagler in his prime sparring with me. It'd be a joke. And that's what Ben Whittaker would do to Jake Paul. But Tommy Fury didn't do that. I know the different pedigree, but Tommy Fury didn't do that, did he? And he got dropped. He did get dropped, and he won. Technically, he won the fight by 4 or 5 points, but it wasn't. He never looked comfortable, did he? You got the impression it was still hard work for him to beat Jake Paul. Now, if you've got any hope of really developing as a fighter, you don't struggle with Jake Paul. Because Jake Paul's a white collar fighter, and he's a bad white collar fighter at that. And that's not ripping Tommy Fury. That's just saying it as it is. It's the lowest level of boxing you can imagine. And I'm not being unkind. It's the lowest level of boxing you can imagine. Not everybody can be world champion. So if Tommy Fury makes a ton of money and goes down that route, I say good luck to him. Absolutely good luck to him. Because what's going to happen, right? If he fights his KSI guy and he beats KSI, which you'd probably expect, but I don't know. I don't know enough about KSI. What is he then going to do, Russell? He's going to drop from £2 or £3 million a fight to go on one of Frank's shows and box for an English title. Frank couldn't afford him. Frank couldn't pay him enough.
Yeah.
There's not the money at that level.
Rick won't be able to give him £2 million for a boxing fight. Who could he fight?
It wouldn't happen. So he's doing the right thing, and he'll come out of it with his health, with a load of money, and he'll probably enjoy doing it as well. They have a load of enjoyment doing it. And I've always said this, and I keep saying it. Whenever I've seen Tommy Fury, he's just such a nice lad. He's quiet, isn't he? I know he gets involved in the pushing and shoving, and he gets a bit hyper sometimes in front of a camera.
Looks like he don't want to do it to me.
He looks quite a shy person, doesn't he? You just know he's a nice lad. There's no harm in him whatsoever. And of course, I won't want him cracking me on the chin. He's a strong lad, but he's not a future champion on any level in the professional ranks. And that don't make him a bad fighter, does it? But we need to just call it out as it is. Boxing's now separated. We've got the entertainment side of boxing, which is like, it's almost like people are going to say, oh, they actually get hit, right? If you think of misfits, think of that as WWE. And then if you think of serious professional boxing, think of that as mixed martial arts. And that's probably the best way for me to describe it. I understand they get cracked in misfits. I'm not stupid, but it is WWE. I mean, these girls who fight on these shows, it just, you can't help but see the highlights pop up, and it's terrible. I don't believe some of these people in these fights have even had boxing training. I actually don't. I'll just let the dog out, mate.
Yeah. Which brings me to KSI versus Joe Fournier. Joe Fournier, this pretend boxer who's every company he's had is popped. He's supposed to be this billionaire guy. OPM, other people's money. I bet he ain't got a pot to piss in. Well, anyway, to cut a long story short, he's crying that he lost, isn't he? Fournier.
Well,
what a fraud. Fournier, you're a fraud.
I remember him coming up once on I think I was on some Facebook chat back in the day. I was on Facebook and I'd never seen him. And someone said something like, this is the lowest point in boxing. I mean, if we knew then what we know now, we know that we've actually hit a lot lower than that. But at some point, someone said Joe Fournier had a world ranking or something. He had a
10 WBA.
So he had a world ranking and he'd never beaten anybody with a pulse. So I jumped on and I thought maybe they've been a bit unkind because
fighting in bars, but there were fights that never happened. It were a manufactured box record, wasn't it?
A bit like Prince Patel, who had about 20 fights in wherever, and there's none of them being captured on video. It's one of those weird sort of things. And Joe Fournier, I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll give him benefit of doubt. I don't believe this guy's as bad as people were saying. And then I watched a couple of his fights, and I'll get criticised for this, and I'll say as it is, the fights I saw, they were fixed. They were fixed fights. And have you ever seen that Italian professional boxer, so-called, who is an infamous video on YouTube? It was some politician's son or some mafia guy's son. And he had implants in his biceps and all kinds of weird things. And he had all these staged fights and they're all fixed. And they were just probably the worst fight I've ever seen. Well, I think Joe Fournier's fights were all staged, and that's my opinion. I'm entitled to
Joe
it.
Fournier, you're a shithouse. Get out of boxing. You're showing sport up. Take your mate David A as well, another fraud.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the KSI fight, but I'm something about an elbow. But the guy can't. When I say someone can't fight, I'm not saying someone can't fight against a man in the street. I'm not ignorant to that fact. But as a professional fighter, the guy can't fight.
Yeah, we can't fight, mate. 2 seconds, let me just go for a leak.
You're all right, mate. Yeah, I'll carry on chatting. You know, I can do that while you got toilet, pal. These records, we all know, and anybody who's in boxing knows this, those who are still listening, right? There are kids out there on the circuit who have won 5 or 6 fights and lost 30, and they can fight. They actually can fight and they can box, right? And there are kids out there who are 10-0 and 12-0 who can't fight. Now, to someone who's new to boxing, that would sound absolutely ridiculous, but there are records that are padded, and then there are records that are full of carries. And anybody who doesn't know what a carry is, there's a thing in boxing. I'm just carrying on, Russell.
Mate, all right.
Anybody who doesn't know what a carry is, there's a dirty word in boxing called a carry. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, but there are records out there that are full of carries. And that's just the name of the boxing. I'm just saying, Russell, there are fighters out there who have won 5 and lost 30 who can fight. Good, tough journeyman.
Get them out of the sport if they're carrying people. All these move arounds, I don't want to see them. Get in front of my eyeballs. Move arounds, you might as well be at fucking gym.
Well, I'll tell you something. No fighter of mine's ever done a move around. Allegedly, I've been asked if I'll do move arounds and said, nope. And then they've got me over new opponents. I'm saying, no, not a chance. Not a chance. But move arounds happen up and down the country on all these bills, and it's disgraceful.
Yeah, it's not good, mate, at all. It's not good.
It's not good for boxing.
Pal.
Yes, mate.
All right, cheers. Anybody who wants to earn a few quid in troubled times, get in touch with your Uncle Porky. PorkyCorner@mail.com. All you got to do is share a few links. Got to be in it to win it. All right, you know the dance. Right, let's get on to part 2 for some more exciting Porky's Corner hardcore talk. Isn't that right, John and Gary? Pop, pop, bang! Oh, Bum.
Porky's Corner is proud to be sponsored by Spartan Site Solutions. They are specialists in civil engineering and demolition contracts for the construction industry. Interested parties should visit their website or contact Porky's Corner for a referral at porkycorner@mail.com.